Good morning. My name is Linda Meyer and I'm an abstract artist and lover of all things creative. Welcome or welcome back to your creativity workouts for art and for life. This video is sort of a vlog of sorts where I take you through a few days of my creative process, how I go about thinking up ideas, flitting from one thing to another. I was beginning to think I was losing my mind there for a minute. I was just going from one thing to another, to another, to another. However, I guess in the end, that turns out to be the way that my mind generates ideas. You riff off of one thing and onto another. It's just like with everything else creative. I think it's been said that there is not such a single thing as an original idea in this world for us human beings. We're all just riffing off of each other's ideas, and that's kind of cool and kind of fun. So, also, in my last video, I had mentioned that I was going to be showing you how to create a large abstract collage that I pasted onto a piece of canvas. I lost the footage. However, I still have the collage, and part of the video this time around is me figuring out how to go about mounting that thing and hanging it on the wall. So I'll show you part of that process, and also I'm going to be creating a separate video that goes through the entire process of figuring out and finally succeeding, I haven't yet, but we'll find out next week, in mounting this large collage on canvas and hanging it on the wall. So let's get started.
Earlier in the week, I looked down on my lawn and found that some coconut fiber had fallen from my coconut tree. And I thought, there's something I can do with that. We'll come back to it later in the video. So this is the large collage that I created, and I'm trying to figure out how to hang it. My idea is that maybe I can use some wooden slats and hang it similar to the way that you can hang posters with two magnetic slats. The problem, of course, with that is I'm going to be covering up part of the top and the bottom of my collage, and I do not want to do that. So I thought maybe I could attach something to the back, and then I could attach the slats to that something I attached to the back. My first thought was fabric, but fabric is too stretchy. That's not going to work. So then I thought, why don't I use this weed control fabric from Lowe's? It's inexpensive and it has no stretch. We will see what happens. So I cut out a piece of the fabric, and then if I put the collage on top of it, and then I put the slats underneath and on top of the weed control fabric, they should hold and allow me to hang the collage in such a way that we can see the entire thing. Next step, let's stain those slats. I like this dark stain. I think it's going to work well with the colors in the collage. Okay, I'm going to put down a layer of the weed control fabric to sort of prevent sticking, and then I'll lay down the collage, and I'm going to use some Lineco PVA glue and put it on really thick. And then I'm also going to make sure that I've got about 6 inches of that onto the collage, so there's plenty of area to actually hold on to. And then I'll make sure that I have parchment paper down there so the thing does not stick at all while I dry it. Place it under some boards and some super heavy cement blocks so that it can dry for a day. Switching gears. Let's wash and dry that coconut fiber. And switching gears again. going to take a look through my collage scraps box, or one of my collage scraps boxes, and see what's there. It's kind of nice to go through them every once in a while, even though I have a good idea what's there, so that I can play with them and generate some new ideas and get things a little bit organized as well. It's kind of fun to just kind of hang out with my collage scraps and come up with some compositions. Okay, so I had an idea. I thought, well, you stain wood. Brown paper is the color of wood. Why can't I stain my brown paper and see what I come up with? I think it might make a good background for a couple of those collage compositions that I came up with. So what the heck? Switching gears again. Let's find out. Okay, so let's take these collage compositions outside and see how they look against the stained brown paper. I actually kind of like that. Coconut fiber looks good on that too. And I like the stark white color and the hard edges of these white stencil cutouts against the soft organic coconut. We'll see if that turns out in the end. Not so sure. I actually kind of like this. Time to pull out the trusty matte medium and start assembling some collages. I'm going to adhere the coconut fiber here and see what happens. I will place some parchment paper down to prevent sticking, and we are foreshadowing a bit of a fail here. You'll see what happens when I remove the blocks and the wood from the parchment paper, but that's for later in the video. Now let's move on to collaging this little group of cutouts to the stained brown paper. I really like the color. The dark background is really kind of cool. And I like the fact that it's not a solid brown, that there's a little bit of variation and serendipity going on here. And I'm placing matte medium all around so that I make sure that I have the same color and texture and sheen all over the whole thing. I have a little bit more trouble with this. I'm not quite sure what to do with it. I kind of like the composition, but I kind of can't figure it out at the same time. So once I have the slats attached to the collage, I have to use the slats to hang the collage on the wall. How the heck am I going to do that? I thought I would put some holes into the slats. Since we have two slats, one on top of each other, I will put the hole in the back slat that will face the wall, and you won't be able to see the hole from the front slat. And then somehow I will hook those things onto the wall. It wasn't until after I had actually drilled the holes in here that I looked online to figure out how I could hang them onto the wall. And what I came up with was what is called keyhole hangers. And so I ordered some of those keyhole hangers, and we'll see what happens in the next video when I attach those keyhole hangers to the slats and try to hang this thing onto the wall. Time for a bit of a break, or what I like to call Netflix and doodle. Yes, that's my laptop there in the lower left corner, and I'm watching some old Seinfeld reruns while I doodle away with my knife. It's a very relaxing way to chill at the end of the day. Seriously, it took me 20 minutes to figure out the final cropping for this piece, which I thought was ridiculous, seeing as I had already figured it out before I started. But I kept changing my mind, and I think I finally came up with something that I really like. And 20 minutes, I guess that's not a lot of time in the grand scheme of things. A little patience practice might help change my attitude. Okay, so you're about to see what happens when I pull the parchment paper off of the coconut fiber. Not exactly what we were looking for. The matte medium kind of shows up where it's stuck to the parchment paper. So I am trying a few things to see if I can remove it, and I realize that that is definitely not going to happen. The texture's kind of cool, so maybe I'll just paint over it with some more stain. And we'll see what happens. I'm also going to put a little bit of the stain on the edges of the coconut fiber to see if that sort of helps it blend into the background a bit. Stay tuned for the next video and we'll see what happens. So back to the collage. Let's try and glue those strips of wood to the weed control fabric. I'm going to be using the Lineco PVA glue again and placing a fair amount of glue on the wood. I want it to hold, but I'm not going to place it too close to the edge because I don't want it to squeeze out. Now we'll put the glue on both strips. And I'm going to cover just a tiny little 1/8 of an inch portion of the collage with the wood strips, just to make sure that I don't have a tacky little piece of that weed control fabric showing. And cover it with some parchment paper, some boards, and some super heavy cement blocks. Overnight, it's going to rest, and then let's see what happens here when I pull it off. Moment of truth. It seems to have held. It didn't slip, it didn't slide. We can see that the slats are overlapping the collage, but not by too much, just a tiny bit, and it looks actually kind of nice. And it's holding. I am pleasantly surprised.
So next week we'll finish up with hanging the collage and see if I can get it to work with those keyhole hangers that I've ordered. Also, see if I can get the coconut fiber collage to work out in some way that might be okay. And maybe work with those brown paper cutouts as well. I'm really liking the way that they're working, and I have to try and figure out some sort of background to place them on. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. And one last thing, if you have any comments on this video or any suggestions for how I might improve what I'm doing, or any ideas for how I might take some of these things that I'm working on and go with it, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks. Bye.